You see this character? Well, this is one I made back in 2022. I made it as a little surprise to my little sister because this is one of the characters she used to draw when she has nothing left to do at school. It is essentially her own original design and she made it when she was just 12 years old. But despite being a little crude, these were the characters I was also making during that time. I was still a beginner at the time, so I didn't know how to use the shader nodes and lighting to my advantage to make these renders better. But fast forward to today, and I never really touched this style ever again. It has to be a strange thing for the Blender community because the main reason why most people use Blender at the very start was to make pixel-like 3D art and animation. So, what changed? To clear my thoughts, I made this female wrestler character in Blender. She's an original character that I wanted to include in the fighting animation I want to publish in the future, and she will definitely be toon shaded. But when I finally made the base model in 3D, I wanted to try out realistic rendering one more time. I switched to the Cycles engine, made my character the same size as a human, imported shaders from Blender Kit, added additional nodes, and posted for the camera. When I was making this character in Blender, I realized I haven't tried to achieve realism in my renders for the longest time now. I can still remember following the donut tutorial in Blender and thinking that the ability for the render engine to make all models to look one-to-one to the things we have in real life is such a great thing that I can show to the world. But after almost 5 years of using Blender and briefly returning to the world of ray tracing by finishing this little shot of my character, I now realize why I haven't touched this style in a very long time. Now, before I go in my rant, I just want to say that this is purely my own opinion on art and what my sharp thoughts are on what art can be. I'm open to discussing your own ideas about your reactions to my queries, so if you have anything to say, you can leave it down in the comment section of this video. With that said, why do I not create photorealistic renders in Blender? Well, you need to understand first what my goals are as an artist. My goal is to leave a little bit of my identity in all of the work that I do. It was the reason why I changed myself from being a stickman with no face to a wizard that looks like Shrek. To make art in my image, there has to be something that speaks to me about my thoughts and experiences. In my case, I loved reading books back then from a newspaper called The Junior Inquirer, and read books like Big Nate and Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I always wanted to capture the magic of reading a new issue of Zits or discovering Nimona for the first time, so I made my style to fit theirs well in a 3D format. Of course, I don't want to assume that all realistic renders in Blender are devoid of style. Software Shoddy makes really good renders in this clay animation style, and the isometric rooms made in Polygon Runway are simple but so aesthetically pleasing to look at. I can pick so many models and assets in the Blender subreddit that can prove that style can be achieved in realistic rendering. But it just comes down to my preference and what I like more. Do I like Eevee's ability to turn shader information to color information that I can easily manipulate to make this hot dog? Or do I prefer Cycle's ability to perfectly recreate lighting to make Iggy from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? I think I'll go with the former. Another reason why I don't like rendering photorealistic stuff right now is because in recent years, it's become way too easy for people to make renders realistic. I remember when footage on Unreal 5 came out and people were praising how realistic the graphics were in this first-person shooter game, and my reaction to that was, while I may not be able to make a one-to-one copy of the map shown in the video, I might be able to make renders dangerously close to it if I wanted to. This is not because I'm a coding wizard or anything. I never want to create a line of code again after experiencing a migraine from making a game in Godot, but it's because we have asset stores like Blender Kit that can help speed up the workflow of making these materials. Programs like Blender are also improving at a substantial degree to make tools and features like ray tracing and lighting much more dynamic and efficient in making models look much more like photos you just took with your camera without any initial setup. Sure, you still need to know how to model and learn how to create a node system for your materials, but it is something you may find hard as a beginner 3D artist. When you are finally more familiar with the 3D programs and tools, you soon realize that what you're essentially doing is typing some keywords in an asset library you created for yourself and dragging and dropping it in to make your workflow much easier. It is AI art levels of easy at this point, except the assets that you're stealing from is either from your past models, node systems, or people in Polygon Runway that actually consent to you using their work for a hefty small price. And hey, I don't have a problem with people reusing assets. I've seen games and movies out there that uses quick method to make original ideas faster. But if you're doing this as a hobby, you can find this action unfulfilling. It's like making the Mona Lisa by just taking a breath of air. Like, would you be happy with yourself? Or would you just be devoid of any emotion whatsoever? Because being able to make art this good without any effort just robs it all from the satisfaction of doing a very hard task. With toon shading, at least for this moment in time, I can see the potential in making multiple things in this style that actually requires me to struggle a little bit. I don't see anyone making assets for a 2.5D horror film rendered in grease pencil, or for a stylized Christmas film featuring an igloo with a metal fort on top of it. Toon shading just allows me to experiment, get weird, and actually puts my butt in the seat and think about what I can do to achieve this vague image in my head, unlike with photorealistic rendering wherein the rules and tools are already set in place for me. Speaking of styles with a defined set of rules, I guess we also need to talk about AI at this point. Back in 2023, I made a video about the good and bad stuff about the introduction of artificial intelligence in the art world. But after 2 years, I had to wonder whether it was too easy with this new technology, because the more I think about it, the more I start to really hate its existence in the creative fields. This is because when it comes to AI art, they really know how to copy a style one-to-one if you just give it the right prompts. And one of the prompts that suffered the fate of being easily recreated with AI is photorealism. I can see that with posts like one wherein they demoed the newest release of a GPT model by showcasing how it was able to recreate some street in a vague place in East Asia. It's scary to think what people can do with this newfound tool to do heinous things like spreading fake news or ruining people's reputation. But most importantly, this really soured my taste with the style of photorealism. Whenever I now see a highly rendered character with accurate lighting and detailed backgrounds, I just think of artificial intelligence at this point, and that intrusive thought will definitely come to those 3D renders that come from newbie artists posting in social media. Now, I'm not saying that all people who create realistic renders are AI enthusiasts, but the idea of the style itself now makes it correlated with AI art, given how predominant this style is in this new technology. So what I want to achieve in this video after sharing my thoughts on photorealism in 3D modeling? Well, I don't want artists to move away from a style if it is something that speaks to them or is what is needed by commission. Instead, this video serves as my prediction to how people's taste in art will change in the near future. Because of how easy it is now to get into the style of photorealism, it may become too stale and boring because of how oversaturated it will be in the public sphere for future generations. There may now be a movement wherein people want to look for new and innovative styles that cannot be replicated with AI, and this style may not strictly be some toon-shaded Spider-Verse-like style, given that AI art is also catching up in making art that look hand-drawn. Instead, I think it would be a style that can prove itself to be one strictly made by humans and one that's not done before, one that doesn't follow a set of rules or guidelines that can be copied. Human flaws in your art will start to become a valuable asset in a world that's quickly moving to digital, and the artists that will stand out are those that experiment to become pioneers of a style that they made on their own. What do you think? Do you think I'm the next Nostradamus, or am I just an old man rambling about how iPhones are bad for you? I really want to know your thoughts down in the comments of this video, and as always, go read a book.